Well, good morning and welcome to our TISOH Speaker Series. For those who don't know me, my name is Anthony Lai and I'm with the International School of Hospitality. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar titled Embracing Your Entrepreneurial Mindset with Donna Murray, founder and creative designer for Donna Lisa Designs. In today's talk, we're going to learn from Donna on what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur and having that mindset that you can actually become one. Donna is a creative event designer and hospitality entrepreneur. Some of you may know her as the account executive for Quest Events, but she also has her own design company, Donna Lisa Designs, and her own podcast series titled Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. If anyone in the audience have questions for Donna, we will reserve the last 10 minutes for the Q&A session. Please use the Q&A or chat feature to submit your questions. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Anthony. Thanks so much for having me. So great to be here.
You ready to begin with the talk?
Absolutely.
Before you get started, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your background, and then we'll lead into your discussion.
Sure. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Donna Lisa Murray. I'm actually an event designer and have been in hospitality sales for many years before getting into event design. I've had about, I want to say, 6 years of hotel experience, various hotels on and off the strip in Las Vegas, and then eventually branched off into event design. So I'm currently a national account executive for Quest Events, as Anthony mentioned, and I also have my own event design and planning company, Donna Lisa Designs, and recently launched this year my podcast, Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa, where I kind of interview a lot of former special events people or hospitality folks and folks who have actually just branched off and gotten into their own side businesses or side hustles, what everyone likes to say. So that's my story so far. I think you're muted, Anthony.
Sorry about that. Wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about how we can have that entrepreneurial mindset. How do we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my start in hotels as a sales coordinator, knew nothing about hotels. This was back in 2007. I kind of took a break for 2 years, went back into the real estate industry just because I thought it was something I wanted to do, came back to hotels in 2009 and started with a lot of the larger casino hotels in town. That's something I really wanted to get into, was the gaming side and conventions. Started networking, joining associations, and eventually left the hotel world and started with special events in 2016. And in 2017, I decided to go ahead and start my own business. And it was mainly because I had a lot of friends and family who have always asked me, like, hey, I've got this baby shower coming up, or I have a graduation party or a birthday party. And I planned tons of my family's weddings growing up as, in high school. A lot of my cousins got married and we were bridesmaids. And I was like, hey, let's do decor. Let's, get all this fancy stuff. And that's kind of where my passion started. And when I got into special events here in Las Vegas, I was just amazed at the amount of talent that we have to put together these massive events. The creative side, we just have so much talent here in Las Vegas. And I thought, you know what, I could learn a lot from these people. So what I started doing before I decided to completely branch off on my own was just join a lot of associations, like the International Live Events Association, the Wedding Planners Associations, just to see how they actually did a lot of their decor, and mainly to network. Networking is definitely key here. If you don't network enough, a lot of people who are introverted, it's a great way for you to connect with people at a networking event and just see how everyone connects together, how they can help each other and collaborate, because this town is full of collaboration. I definitely learned a lot from all those networking events and decided, okay, I think I know enough people to be able to kind of branch off and start my own company on the side. And I did get a lot of clients from my hotel partners in the past. So when I started my own design company, I reached out to all my hotelier friends and said, hey, I started my own company. Here's what I can offer you. any decor, needs that you may have or your clients, just send them my way. And I can definitely be competitive with pricing and also sponsorships. I did a few sponsorships for friends that were, hosting association events. And that was one way to kind of get started as well, just to be able to get your name out there. Because a lot of people, I mean, it's great when you have this great idea to start a business, but without the network, in this town especially and in our industry, it's so hard to get your face out there. So it took a few years, to do a lot of the networking and building my own personal brand, before I actually branched out on my own. And I think everyone in special events and hospitality, whichever department you're working in, we all have some sort of creativity, whether you're in food and beverage, or you're on the event design side, or you're on the planning side. Getting to know all your vendors and connecting with them and seeing how you can come up with ideas is key, because a lot of times you may not have a team of people behind you for your own company, but your vendors and all your former clients, those are actually your team. I've reached out to former hotel people to say, hey, what do you think about this? Even starting my own business, I thought, hey, can you guys take a look at my website? They are the most honest when it comes to critiquing anything. So I got a lot of feedback from a lot of hospitality people before I fully launched everything in 2017. And then I loved it. However, I really, really loved the corporate side, and I was getting a lot of social clients. So I did want to go back to the corporate world. And that's what brought me to Quest events. The connections that I've made through Quest are amazing. I love the corporate side, but I still have the social side, whether it's a birthday party or wedding, wedding bridal shower that I'm working on. So I kind of balance the two. And of course, people who know me know that I just can't do one thing. So during the pandemic, I decided, okay, like, what else am I going to do? I had this project for a couple of years of wanting to launch this podcast and showcase amazing talent that we have in special events. And I decided to go ahead and do that. So at the end of 2020, I officially launched Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. And it was originally going to start with showcasing just special events people. And then I thought, you know what? Other people may not want to just hear from, folks in special events. They want to hear about, other people in business. And what I was starting to find out was when I reached out to people in special events who had a side business, they were getting into other things that they were passionate about. And I thought, oh my God, this is really cool. I think this is a great way to get everyone's, passion out there so people can see what they're doing, what they love to do, aside from the special events world. And it's been doing well so far. I've also showcased people outside of special events and hospitality with brand new businesses coming up. And the connections that I've made were all from people that I knew in hospitality and special events. And when you think that no one's wanting to collaborate at all, it's surprising to me how many people in our industry and even outside our industry on social media definitely want to do collaborate, and they just want to help you. They want to help your business grow. So I've definitely gotten a few more clients that way, for my design business. A few people that I've interviewed on my podcast, I've designed some of their graduation parties recently, small private weddings. I've designed our corporate event for a recent open house that we had at Quest. So yeah, so a lot of opportunities, when you start small and you eventually decide to grow. I think a lot of folks out there, first off, want to know, how do I get started in this? And it's just being confident in yourself and what you know. Definitely learn your product or what you're wanting to sell or what you're wanting to get into. Learn it well before you do branch off. But the only way you're really going to learn is from failure. Believe me, I've had a lot of failures in the past, starting, the business and realizing like, oh, darn, maybe I shouldn't have just discounted them this much. Maybe I should have, increased my prices about this much because I didn't make any money. But, it's a great learning experience. You definitely want to assist everybody as much as you can, but still make your money, because I know when everyone gets started, they want to discount everything to help everyone out. But by doing that, sometimes you overwork yourself and you're not paying yourself enough. So definitely know your worth as well when you're going out there and starting to promote yourself. But I would definitely recommend everybody getting involved in your local associations. I know TISOH has a great alumni association. They stay in contact with a lot of the industry associations that have great, talent and entrepreneurs that have come from all over. So with a lot of background. So yeah, I mean, I would just, if anybody really, really is interested in branching off and becoming that entrepreneur and starting something on the side, um, just do it. There's really no other way to figure out if it's gonna, happen unless you actually go out there and do it. Because you can think all you want. Believe me, I had this thought for about three and a half years before I actually launched it. And then when I finally launched it, it was like, oh, okay, I can do this. And you can decide to whether or not continue to grow your business or scale it back a bit. I was getting a lot busier with my design business, and although I was, still busy on the event side for Quest events on the corporate side, I had to decide where my true passion was. And I do love the corporate clients and the connections I have there, but I also love designing on the side for personal friends and family. And that's kind of where I've left it for now. Like I said, I get a lot of referrals, and sometimes because of scheduling, have to turn some events down. But it's a good thing because, that means that people do know that you're worthy of their business. So yeah, if anyone has any questions out there right now, feel free to ask. I I love the fact that everyone nowadays, especially coming out of the pandemic, I was telling Anthony offline that I've noticed a lot of folks I've spoken to have decided to follow their passions and start a new business. I mean, I recently met with a chef who came from a big hotel on the strip, and she started her hot sauce line, as that was something she loved to do. And although she loved to cook for corporate events, she just said, I thought this was a perfect opportunity with the pandemic going on, because a lot of folks are also finding out that coming back to their jobs after the pandemic, they're doing 5 to 6 different additional roles on top of their original role. And they're just like, you know what, I don't know if this is really for me. Maybe I should just follow my passion. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of folks just following what they really, really love to do.
Yeah, and we do have quite a few questions that was sent privately from our audience. I guess the first question for you, Donna, is just want to highlight the importance of networking. So in your past, what makes someone that is a good person to network, and what makes a bad networker? I don't know. This person just.
So networking is definitely key. I can definitely say that. I started networking in hotels, but not in the special events side. It was more just like meeting planner events and attending trade shows. And then when I got into special events, the networking associations there, whether it's, NACE, ILEA, WIPA, CSA, are amazing. The connections that you make are so wonderful. I would suggest part of networking too is joining on a board, an association board. I've sat on a few boards. I'm immediate past president for CSA Las Vegas. I actually sat on the board of directors for NACE Las Vegas the last 2.5 years, and currently on Timothy S. Lam Foundation board. But learning to connect with your board directors and just the association members is key, because everyone wants to know who you are, what your services are. And I think the greatest way to start is just joining a committee. There are tons of committees out there. The board members are just like you. They're all busy. They all work, full-time jobs, and this is all volunteer. So keep that in mind too. You have to be able to have the extra time to balance, because pre-COVID days, all these associations were doing monthly events, and sometimes you could be at 3 to 4 events every week, and it's exhausting. But that was something I chose to do as my kids did get older and I could leave them at home, and not be home all the time, because that was the only way I was going to grow my business, and not just my business, but grow your brand. It's huge for people to understand that while you want to start your own business, you also want to build your own brand, because you want people to know who you are, not just what you do. I joined a few board associations a few years, or actually after a year of doing a committee. That way, what's involved. And if it's really not for you, then you can just, the next year you can go, hey, I just want to stay on the committee. I don't want to join as a board director. But that's a great way to network, is definitely just attending as many networking events as you can. It does get expensive. Keep that in mind. It does help when you have a company that will allow you to network as much as Quest did for me the first few years. And otherwise, if you're willing to, put out the money, to network, that's great. And one thing to keep in mind is when you do reach out to these association boards, some of them do comp out, people to attend one of their events just to see if they like it and if they want to join as a member. And there are definitely benefits to joining these associations as a member, because you get full access to all their members, and you can, reach out to them, individually, and instead of just waiting to see them at the next networking event, because a lot of them, sometimes they do get busy, they do get busy, and unfortunately they can't make all the events. So having access to the database for the associations is key also. And that way you can reach out to them and promote your business.
Yeah, and you're definitely right on point with the networking, that you just don't go to like an event and just show up. You really have to get yourself involved. And I guess to everyone, to the students that are in our audience, when you do join an association, be involved, join a board, join a committee, really get yourself in there so that you can be part of that conversation of what the plans that they have for those associations are looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And another question that was sent privately was one student question about conflict of interest. You obviously, you're doing Donna Lisa Designs. Did Quest ever?
Yeah, great question.
About that? Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So yes, and to sidebar on that, I actually did start Donna Lisa Designs because I was out of a job. Our company, the design company I was with, decided to just kind of downsize. And I said, okay, well, I was applying for jobs maybe about 3 months straight. And after that, this is like, back in 2016, you're thinking, okay, I can find another job. But back then, jobs were hard to find here because everything was just, fully blooming. We were doing really well. And then I just said, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and start my own company. But when I finally decided to go back into the corporate world and get hired by Quest, they did bring that up, and they said, how are you feeling as far as keeping your business part-time or on the side? And exactly what I just said to you guys, I told them it's really mainly just for friends and family, because my passion was the corporate side and my business is more on the social side. So I definitely did put that aside for, I want to say, 2 full years. Just did it part-time, baby showers here and there. And I focused mainly on Quest, and Quest actually, it did well for me and my business because, coworkers of mine knew that I did this on the side. And so, I had an operations manager a couple of years ago that got married, and he was like, hey, I want, my wife wants to hire you to help design the wedding. So, you still get business that way, but they were 2 different types of businesses. So whereas my personal business is more, social events like weddings and birthday parties, Quest Events is strictly corporate. We are tapping into the social event now. However, my clientele base for my personal business is not at the level of where Quest is for their client base. 2 different clienteles for sure. And just knowing the difference, but you can definitely tell. I mean, if I was really focusing 100% on Donna Lisa Designs and not just doing it on the side and for brand exposure, which is what I use it for, Quest would know because I wouldn't be doing my job at Quest. But yeah, I definitely do. Most people who know me, I promote Quest events full time. The wedding associations that I do join just for my own personal business, I promote my side business because those are the clients that my business can service. Quest Events really does a lot more corporate stuff. But the question of conflict of interest was brought up, and I just addressed it that way, and it actually did not affect it at all. So I'm still able to do my side business and Quest. And I have kind of reshifted. I don't know, Anthony, if you remember, I actually, during COVID, because events were completely shut down in town, I actually decided to go back into real estate, get my license. And I did it because a lot of my old real estate friends, were still thriving. And I thought, okay, well, we don't know how soon events are going to open up. And what I did was I used that opportunity, took that opportunity to reshift my design business and started focusing on home design and home staging to tie into the real estate. Do I still have my license? Yes, I do. Real estate is not my full passion. I did it in the interim because I'm just one that has to stay busy. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for this pandemic a year later to go away. I wanted to do something to stay, active, and of course, bring in money like everyone else. But that's what I did. And if you follow my Instagram page, Donna Lisa Designs, you can see when things started shifting in more into home design and home staging, because I tied it into my real estate page as well. But like I said, I still do, small events here and there. Elopements were big in the summer, small events of maybe 25 or less because we were so limited. So that's what I did. I did 3 COVID weddings, and I'll tell you, the amount of work that you put into any wedding, any size wedding, is still a lot. So my mistake during COVID was, I felt really bad for some of my brides and considering what they were going through. And I discounted some of my services just to be able to help them out. And these were, brides that were referred from friends. And that's something I would probably recommend not to do, because you're still putting in the same amount of work, whether it's 10 people, 50 people, or 100 people. I found myself putting in even a lot more work because of all the social distancing guidelines and having to figure out how we were going to make this work, and not break any of those guidelines, and have their wedding shut down. So yeah, that was a learning process for me. But of course, it's not every day that you're in a pandemic. So it was kind of like the first time I was going through that and working a wedding with COVID guidelines. So lesson learned for me. But yeah, I discounted, one wedding. And after that, I was like, nope, I'm not going to discount anymore. So definitely know your worth. But yeah, I mean, it's working out for me right now, doing both the corporate and the social side.
Yeah, and I guess, in a way you're being transparent with your company and as well as the company that you work for. And either way, it's still kind of mutually beneficial, because if you have a client that is going to go corporate, then you would use the Quest events. And then if you're doing personal, then you would use your own.
Right. And it's like collaborating, it's that whole collaboration. Like I said, Quest is coming out of this pandemic. We are focusing on some social events. Our bread and butter is definitely corporate, which is what we want to get back to. But we're not going to shy away from the social events, because that's what's happening right now. People who have postponed their weddings last year are having their weddings this year, and people who were already planning their weddings this year are still having it now that we're reopened. So it's double the amount of weddings, that we're used to having. And everyone's busy. So there's business for everyone. But yeah, I definitely had to, because of my schedule with Quest recently, I've had to turn down a couple of small events, and it's fine. I still offer consulting services. I don't necessarily do the on-site day of coordination. That's just something, because of my schedule, I don't have a lot of time for. So I'll definitely help with the pre-planning process.
Another question, this came from our chat feature. When you launched your business, how did you decide what type of business it was going to be? A sole proprietor?
So I actually decided it was going to be an LLC in the beginning. And then I actually went back down after I decided to go back to the corporate world, went back to a sole proprietorship, just because the amount of work that I was doing wasn't enough for me to justify paying all the fees for an LLC. I wasn't doing a lot of large corporate events. So it just made sense to do that, to go back to a sole proprietorship. But yes, that's a great question. Depending on what kind of volume you're expecting to do, I would definitely say for the first 6 months to a year, start off small, unless you have a huge client base already that will follow you and give you business nonstop. But, I have a ton of industry friends who have small decor companies, on the side, and they started off small as well until the business started picking up for them regularly.
Just an added few to the questions. Do you have to find an attorney, accountant? Do you have a business consultant? Do you have to open your business account?
Yes, you do. You do need a business license. A business consultant, that it's personal preference. Now, I actually, before I got involved in hotels and special events years ago, I actually went to school for business. So that's kind of my background. My family has owned businesses in the past while I was a child growing up. So I was kind of groomed for business. So my consultant is my father. I asked him all the questions I needed to, and my brother, he's also a business owner. So I reached out to them when it came to, the whole business shell, building it up. And I've also helped my dad in the past, start off his business when I was in college. So have a lot of experience with that. But when it comes to the event design business, I was in event planning or actually mostly just event decor and design. I always wanted to do like some sort of home staging, design, decor when I was, much younger. And I thought, you know what, I can incorporate the two. I can do event design and decor and home staging design. So, which is why, most people who actually have an event design business, they'll call their business like Donna Murray Event Design. So I decided to just do Donna Lisa Designs because it ties into both, design fields. It can go for home design and it can go for, event design. So that's how I decided I was going to start my business and branch it off that way, just so I'm not stuck to one. Because I do have some friends who have started off in interior design and they eventually got into event design and they thought, you know what, this is what I'm more passionate about, not the home design. And I love both. So why not just, open it up to offer both services? And I have had some, clients recently when I did real estate heavier in the summer, they were like, oh, you can help me redesign the kitchen. So you definitely get small projects here and there. Some of my friends call me like a Jane of all trades. Sorry. I just like to stay busy. I don't like to focus on just one thing. And I know back in the day, years ago, entrepreneurship was frowned upon. It wasn't something that people were like, oh my God, that's exciting. You're starting your business. They were excited for you if you were working in corporate America and that was your goal, is to continue to, move up that ladder. I've worked both sides. I have parents who are business owners. I've had friends that worked in, very high up corporate jobs. I've done the corporate side. I still am in it. And I do like the flexibility of being a business owner and being able to, use that to my advantage, whether it's for, my real estate business or my personal design business. But I just like to do a lot of different things, as people can see, and it keeps me from being bored. So that's just me personally. A lot of other folks are like, I can't even imagine starting to do different things like what you're doing, but I'm okay with it. It took me years to get to where I'm at as far as learning the business when it comes to the design business on the event side and the social side, and also home design. But like I said, you really play it off to how you want to based on where you're at in your career. I switched over during the pandemic more to home design because that's what was happening. Events were not happening at all. So it didn't make sense for me to focus heavily on that. And then, focusing on the smaller events like elopements, those were happening. We couldn't, do a 100-person event back in June of 2020 for sure. So there was no reason for me to just focus strictly on that.
Of course, of course. Just another few questions. They said copyright ? Trademark ? So I guess Johnny's trying to ask, what about copyright and trademark? Did you have to do that with your business?
You know what? I did not, and but I did in past businesses that I have. That actually is a great question. Yeah, I would definitely highly recommend doing that. If you are going to be a bigger brand, that's just something I haven't even really thought of right now, just because it's funny, I didn't think I would be where I'm at with my company and my brand until I started to launch my podcast. And everybody was like, oh yeah, Donna Lisa, everyone knows you as Donna Lisa. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I have built up some sort of a brand. So that's something I would definitely highly recommend as you continue to grow. When you're just starting out there, it's nothing too important to do. But yes, as you branch out and get bigger, for sure. I would definitely, copyright your logo, make sure no one's using any of your photos for previous events, and putting your logo on that. I started doing that recently as well, is putting my logo on all the photos that I use, just because anybody can go onto social media, take a quick snapshot of what you're posting, and then claim it as their job, their decor. And that's definitely something you don't want people to do, is use your photos from ideas that you worked hard to put together, and just start, sharing it like it's their own work.
And tell us a little bit about your podcast series. I think some of our people in our audience,
Yeah.
what inspired you to do a podcast?
So I love talking to people. I'm a huge connector. Everyone who knows me at networking events knows that I will spot out the new person there and get to know them, because I know what it's like when you're just getting out there and trying to network and meet new people who have years and years of experience, in the industry. And sometimes, some of them are great to, talk to in the beginning, and others, they don't have time for you. So what I wanted to do with the podcast, when I started making all these connections at all the networking events, I actually get to know a lot of my clients and vendors on a personal level, not right away, but after you see them at 3 or 4 networking events, you're like, hey, you start following them on social media and start asking about their vacation. I saw that you were on vacation recently, and how was that? And getting to know them as a person. And then I started opening up more to a lot of these folks and asking about their background, and finding out that a lot of people, have started businesses, or they do something on the side. And I thought, what a great way to just showcase these individuals, aside from just their special event hospitality profile, what they're known for, but showcase something that they're passionate about. And that's why I named my podcast Anything and Everything, because I really do talk about anything and everything. It's not geared to just, business or special events. I actually have interviewed a couple of your former or recent TISOH instructors, and a lot of them have passions in yoga. One went back into real estate and still doing special events, but you never really get to know everyone's real story when you're at a real networking event, because no one really wants to open up to you there. But the podcast, it gave me that idea, was like, you know what, I just want to get to know people more on a personal level, and would love everybody to hear their story too. And I've been getting some good feedback from it. Of course, I'm not the podcast professional, but you never know how it's going to go until you just launch it. And like I said, this has been something I've been thinking about for 2 years. And when I finally launched it, everyone closest to me in the industry that knew about this project were like, oh my gosh, finally, now it's finally like out in the open and people know about it, because they've been hearing about this idea for so long that they wanted me to just hurry up and roll out, just roll with it. So yeah, I've been getting good feedback from industry people who have listened in to some of the, the guests on there, and who never would have known how they got started in business, never would have known what they're most passionate about. And it's really getting to know a lot of industry people on a personal level. So that's kind of what inspired me to start the podcast. I just wanted people to know my guests the way I know them, because these are questions that I typically ask them, one-on-one. After you do a lot of networking events with these people, you eventually become good industry friends. You reach out to them on a regular basis. You ask them out for coffee, lunch or cocktails, and they actually become some of your personal friends. So that's kind of how the idea came about.
Of course. Thank you for that. Another question coming from Daniel. How did you refine your referral partners as you started to grow your business? How did you refine your referral partners as you started to grow your business?
Like narrowing down my partners. So there are tons of vendors out there. I know, as you guys know as well as I do, a lot of people do event design and decor. There are a lot of rental companies out there, and it's finding those who have a good relationship with you and who are going to treat your clients the best. I know from my hotel experience, linen vendors and event rental companies that we've worked with, who's been easy to work with and who's been a little challenging to work with. So, You definitely want to build a relationship with those who are, flexible with you, or will be flexible with your clients. Those who will take time to help you, when you need something last minute. So it takes time. It definitely took me about 2 years to find the vendors that I like to work with for every event. And they all know who they are. I have my set of vendors, whether from the cake to the, chair rentals to linens to drape, of course. Quest Events is my number one drape vendor. But aside from that, florals, all the, and DJs, every vendor that you need to put together an event, it's somebody that will work well with not just you, but your end client.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought we approached a little bit of the benefits of Zoom. Another question from our audience. One student asked, how to get started on a business? What do I need to do first?
Definitely get your business license. But before all that, before you go and spend all this money on getting your business license, getting a business checking account, and doing all this marketing for your business, come up with the idea. Like, what is it that you want to promote? What is it that you want to do? And then when you come up with your idea, definitely write a business plan. It's something that a lot of people don't like to do. If you need some assistance with it, there are business coaches out there that can help you. But definitely just get a plan together, a plan of action. Give yourself some deadlines. Maybe, in 6 months, you definitely want to officially launch your business. So in the next 6 months, figure out what kind of business it's going to be, who you're going to market to, who your client base is, whether you're going to do, corporate and social, or just focus on social, or just the corporate side, or, you want to do weddings and only weddings. There are a lot of great designers out there that only love to do weddings, and there's nothing wrong with that. Weddings are beautiful. I love designing weddings as well. Just narrowing down exactly what it is that you want to focus on, and then moving on from that, taking that idea and actually, starting your business, getting your license. But again, before you go out and spend all that money on getting a business license and getting business cards and whatnot, and getting a website up, figure out what it is that you want to do first.
First. And if there's one thing you can change when you're starting your own business, what would that be?
For myself, one thing I could change, I would definitely say I probably would have waited a little bit longer to start my own business, because I did learn from, a lot of failures. I launched my website, got my business cards, and when I reached out to all my contacts for business, believe it or not, like my hotel friends who are really close to me, they were throwing business my way, and I really wasn't ready for it. I honestly thought, okay, I'm going to launch it, and it's going to be maybe 3 or 4 months before I actually get anything. And within a month's time, I was doing like $12,000 worth of business. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like way too much. It's too much for what I was planning to do. I wanted baby steps. So yeah, I probably would have just waited maybe another month or two before I officially launched it. But you know what? You just roll with it, because I honestly didn't. The first event that I had, I didn't really have a team. So I had to go in and call people that I knew, like, hey, can you help me with this setup? And, I didn't even think about all that stuff, because coming from the corporate side, you have a team of people that, that are there for you to do setups. And when you're working for yourself, you need to remember that it's just you. So a lot of times I had, my kids were in high school. I was like, hey, you're coming with me to put linen on tables, and set up this wedding. And they were just like, why? But I didn't have a crew.
Absolutely.
So good learning experience there.
Another question from Johnny. Saw the fun video of you with Monica Jackson. Can you share how that came about, and if that did something with your business?
Yes. So that actually was, I want to say it was almost 8 months before I branched off and started my own business. I was working for a design company, and we were part of the International Live Events Association. So when I say networking is key and joining associations, we were a part of that association. I wasn't on the board, but we were a member, and the association reached out to all the members. They sent out emails regularly saying, hey, we need guest speakers, to talk about a Super Bowl event, or, a graduation, backyard graduation ideas. And that's how that came about. So the company I was with said, does anybody want to speak, on graduation ideas and help promote our products? And I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and do it. So that opportunity came. And, the good thing about that, it's funny, I was actually watching that video last night. Funny that you mentioned that. I was watching that video last night, and it's so true what people say. Every opportunity you get, just take it and roll with it. You don't know how it's gonna be, but it's another opportunity. And with that, I was able to purchase that video. So, fast forward a couple years later, when I had my own business, I was able to actually just use that as, for my website. It's like, media exposure. So yeah, I mean, it's great opportunities like that. It was a free opportunity for myself to showcase the company I was with, and then myself as well as a designer. And now I have that, on my website as, a media opportunity that I've done in the past. And it all came from the association. So definitely get out there and network, people.
Absolutely. I think the key is to network.
Yes.
Another question, what is the biggest challenge when it comes to Donna Lisa's Designs? Like, what was your biggest challenge for that?
My biggest challenge there is definitely, I would say definitely having a full-time crew with you. I do have on-call people on the side because of course they know I do this, on the side as well. But having a team of people when you're doing a large event is that was my challenge. Everyone I know already has full-time jobs as, event setup crew. So being able to make sure that they're available on the days that I'm having something on a weekend, that's probably the biggest challenge that I have. Everything else has been okay. I mean, I advertise myself on different free platforms, whether it's Wedding Wire, I buy the cheapest or I join in at the lowest for exposure. And the best exposure right now that's free for everybody when you're marketing yourself is definitely Instagram and Facebook. If you are not on Instagram and you have, an event business, you definitely should get on it, because a lot of people do. They want to see your Instagram feed. They definitely want to see the, past events you've done, who you've done events for, and how relevant you are with social media. They want to know, are you keeping up with your feeds? If you're not posting consistently, even once a week, some of them may think, okay, well, they're not that serious in the business. And so, I mean, sadly, that's just how people look at it nowadays. But they definitely do measure your success on social media. So wherever you're at, whatever event you've designed, take photos, take lots of photos, because putting my website together and finding all the photos from past events, and mind you, now when you work for a corporate company, some of the conflict too is you are not allowed to use any other photos of any other decor. You have to use your own photos. So, that's when I started planning smaller events for friends and family, and just taking as many photos as I can, just so I had a library of, like, a gallery of photos. Because the sad thing is, every company I've worked for in the past, they own those rights to the photos. Even though you were a designer for them, they're not yours to use on your own personal social media. So keep that in mind as well.
Another question on the topic of social media. I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram. Do I post the same thing in between the two social media channels?
I've heard both, because it depends on who you're marketing to on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, of course, is a little bit more social. Facebook is a little different. I don't get as much, engagement on my Facebook page like I do on my Instagram pages. And I mean, if you follow my personal Instagram, it's Donna Lisa _LV. It has on my profile, it's got every social media handle that every account that I have for Instagram, whether it's my design business, Quest Events, or my real estate page and my podcast. And some people are like, oh my gosh, you have so many pages that you manage. And it's because they're all very different. They kind of tie into each other, but they're all very different. So you don't want people to go to your personal Instagram page and see you posting about your events, and then, you know, you've got your own personal, maybe you're on vacation or something. Some people want to go to your Instagram page for your business and see your business. They want to see everything you've done, not just, I mean, it gets personal. If you want to get personal, great, you know, post a couple of pictures of yourself, because people do like to see that as well. But they don't need to see, you know, your family vacation from 2 years ago and all that. Keep it strictly about your business so that people know it's a business page. And that's why I have so many different pages. I mean, if I had one Instagram page and had my podcast and you know, real estate and event design on there, it would just be a big mess, and people would get so confused, and they wouldn't understand the message I'm trying to get across. So every one of my accounts are completely separate from my personal.
Another question, have you ever posted a Facebook ad or an Instagram promotion?
Yes, I've done a lot of those, and they're much more affordable than what most people would spend on regular marketing ads. I've done both Facebook and Instagram, and the engagement definitely does grow. I did get a lot more inquiries, but it takes time. I think I didn't start seeing any return really until, I want to say, after 2 months of really promoting. And I would promote something new, a different post once a week, you know. And one thing I would suggest is people try to be too salesy sometimes on Instagram. A lot of, you know, I've attended a few classes on social media do's and don'ts, and they definitely do tell you, try not to post any pricing on your Instagram page. And it's also a good way for them to reach out to you directly, and you can make that connection with them before just blasting your prices out there and they're deciding whether or not you're too expensive or too cheap. So definitely try to steer away from pricing anything out on your social media platforms or even on your website. But for some folks, you know, like photographers out there, having their prices on a website can work, but on your social media page, you definitely want to drive them to message you or to go to your website and reach out to you that way. And at least you're getting engagement on your website, and they're actually taking time to take a look at your work as well.
Great, great. It looks like we got a lot of questions. We have a very engaged audience. This is going to be the last question for Donna. We just give Donna a little bit of a break. But as an entrepreneur, Donna, is there anyone that you follow that provides you with an inspiration and strengthen that forward-thinking mindset?
Yeah. So I mean, one guy I do like to follow. He's pretty raw, but he's an amazing entrepreneur. My brother and I started following him. My kids even started following him. He's Gary V. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him, but keep in mind, he drops a lot of F-bombs, but he's very motivational. He's straight. He's one that just tells you straight, you know, people call him, he has a podcast, this guy's just amazing. But if somebody calls him and says, I don't really know where to begin, I want to start a business, this is what I like to do, he's one that would just say, go out there and do it. What's holding you back? Like, so what, you know, you may fall on your face for the first year, but you're going to learn from it. And that's the only way you're going to get better, is to just do it. In our industry, one particular person I really do look up to, and, you know, as an inspiring person, and she actually is a teacher at your school, Britt Bertino. I love the fact that she for one has definitely branched off and done different side businesses aside from, you know, her event business, and she's still doing so well in it. And she's a new mom too, so she's able to hold that together, and she's got an amazing client base, you know, great corporate clients. She has, you know, amazing wedding clients, tons of knowledge when it comes to weddings, and she has an amazing book out on weddings around the world. So yeah, she's definitely one I look up to in our industry, because I've watched her grow and kind of branch out and do different businesses aside from her main passion, which was events. And that's kind of what sparked me into starting the podcast as well. So, and she was a guest on the podcast. So yeah, she's definitely somebody I look up to.
Yeah, Britt is great. And Britt is not just an instructor. She is actually one of our alums here at the school. And one of the things she did, you know, right after she completed with TISOH was that she got herself out there. She dabbled in everything and everything.
Yes, and I think she's on the national board for WIPA, the Wedding Planners Association. And then she was also a past president for ILEA. So, when I say, get out there and network, definitely get out there and network. I actually met her in person at a networking event, and she was the sweetest person. Somebody with her knowledge and background, you would think like they're just too busy to say hi, but she was so sweet, and she's one of our top clients, at Quest. And so I just wanted to go and introduce myself to her, and she's been amazing since then.
Yeah, and it takes time because once you go down a network, of course they're not going to know who you are.
Right.
But you can't let that be the obstacle to stop you from being part of that association.
Right.
Volunteer, get involved in the board. The more you do that, the more you yourself grow within that role, and then you become the actual mentor and that person that people aspire to be.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to add is, because I know we probably have to wrap it up soon. Amazing questions, though. Thank you. But I do want to add, for people, it's not a race, you guys. Entrepreneurship is really not a race. It's a slow process. It's not something that happens overnight. So if you're really looking for something where you're going to get into this, and a year from now, or even 6 months from now, you're making, 6 figures, and you're just doing so well and amazing, you don't. That's not what you want to do, because you want to be consistent. You want to continue to grow. And it took me years to be able to just build my brand myself, even just with the industry, special events industry, to know who I was. And it came from the support of my corporate company and letting me attend all these events and network and promote their business. So that's how I was able to promote myself as well as an individual. But it takes time. It's just, remember, it's not a race.
Absolutely. And then last question, I know we have a little bit of time. How do we get in contact with you? Okay, well, that leads into the next presentation. So let me go ahead and share the screen. So this is how you can contact with Donna Murray. You can find her on her website, www.donnalisadesigns.com. You can follow her on Instagram. If you want to follow her home design company, at Donna Lisa Designs. If you want to watch her podcast series, then at everything Donna Lisa.
Yes.
And then comment, Miss Donna, awesome guest speaker. Thank you for providing this webinar for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And you folks can definitely email me through my website as well. So if you want to send me a message, or send me a message on Instagram or Facebook.
And for anyone who has missed a portion of this webinar, this will be uploaded within the next day. So follow us at TISOH channel. You can also go to the TISOH channel on YouTube. We have the full recording available within the next day. Once again, we want to thank Donna Murray for providing us an entrepreneurial mindset. Thank you to our audience for joining us and continuously supporting our TISOH Speaker Series. Also follow us on social media. I know I just mentioned YouTube and Instagram, but we also have the Facebook and LinkedIn social media channels. So you can stay in touch with us with the latest TISOH events and happenings. Again, thank you for joining, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, thank you.